Um, Today, Lillian is going to be presenting for us on cybersecurity in the National Institute standards. There have been some changes that have come down the pipeline that she's going to kind of give you guys a brief overview on today, but please make sure we are recording this. Please revisit this information, and I'll make sure everybody has contact information for additional conversations around your government contracting needs. So with that, Lillian, the floor is all yours.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you, and we'll get started here. So thank you for joining us today, and I really appreciate those of you who are here. I'm going to go ahead and turn off my screen, but I'm going to just leave the presentation up for you. So today's training is going to be a 50,000-foot view and an update on cybersecurity in government contracting. So there's a lot of information out there right now on cybersecurity. What is it? Well, here's the long definition. Cybersecurity, or information technology security, are the techniques of protecting critical systems, sensitive information on computers, networks, programs, and data from unauthorized access or attacks that are aimed for exploitation, whether these threats originate from inside or outside an organization. For 83% of companies, if a data breach will happen, but when. A data breach in the US costs over twice the global average. For the 12th year in a row, the United States holds the title for the highest cost of a data breach. It's 5.09 million more than the global average. So how does this affect contractors looking to do business with the federal government? I want to share a few pictures with you. Here is a picture of our cutting-edge military equipment. Or is it? So what is this a picture of? This is a picture of our cutting-edge military equipment. This one is US made for our military. The previous one was a Chinese jet. So how come they look so much alike? It's because our US adversaries are actively working to steal the US military secrets at an alarming rate. They are targeting contractors to do this. DoD contractors are a major source of information leakage that leads to the compromise of the US military competitive advantage. The DoD has decided to do something to eliminate these leaks. DoD contractors did not consistently implement mandated system security requirements for safeguarding information. So it was recommended that DoD take steps to assess a contractor's ability to protect this information. The DoD has established an ultimatum for its contractors: increase their cyber defense, or we will not do business with you. How DoD plans on doing that is with a two-pronged approach: NIST 800-171 and CMMC. So what's the difference between the two? Well, NIST 800-171, which was required back in 2017, was about compliance, whereas CMMC is about reducing risk in DoD supply chains. What hasn't changed is the goal. It's to protect information. NIST 800-171 is a special publication, and it is published by the National Institute of Standards and Technology. It provides recommended requirements. Whoops, I went the wrong way here. Sorry about that. For compliance by all working within the federal supply chain. whether they are a subcontractor working for a prime or subcontractors working for another subcontractor. NIST 800-171 mandate provides guidance as to how CUI, or controlled unclassified information as it is called, should be assessed, shared, and stored. So this is required by the DFARS clause 252.204-7012. So what is DFARS? DFARS is the rule book for contracting with DoD. As of December 31st, 2017, all DoD suppliers were expected to be in compliance with NIST 800-171. If a supplier is part of DoD, GSA, NASA, or other federal or state agencies' supply chain, the implementation of the security requirements included in the NIST 800-171 is a necessity. Compliance can be achieved on your own or with the help from an outside company. Self-verification is possible. CMMC, which stands for Cyber Maturity Model Certification, is the coming soon Defense Department certifications. It's a new unified cybersecurity standard created by DoD to increase the security position of companies operating in DoD's supply chain. CMC is being rolled out gradually and will eventually replace NIST 800-171. This is for all DoD contractors to formally certify that they've followed all the requirements, that the company has proper cybersecurity in place. To meet CMMC, you can either self-attest or you may be required to pass an assessment. Whether or not you can self-attest to CMMC varies based on the level you must comply with and the type of information you need to protect in fulfilling a contract. This plan is not the law of the land, nor is it here yet. There are 3 levels of certification required based on the contract. So how sensitive it is will determine which level is required with certain contracts. If you don't handle any technical information, no drawings, specifications, no product info of any kind, you just have a federal contract or subcontract, then you're handling what is called FCI, Federal Contract Information. Under level 1, general basic information, there are 17 practices. Level 2, if you handle technical information or CUI, or what's called controlled unclassified information, then you would be required to be certified as a level 2 with 110 practices, or level 3, which is expert and with 110 plus practices, but mostly it would be level 2. So DoD's 3 overall goals are to, number 1, protect sensitive defense-related information. Number 2, to have a single unified standard over all DoD agencies. And number 3, to verify and sustain cybersecurity. The DoD is gradually transitioning from NIST 800-171 to CMMC. And supposedly, by October 1, 2025, all new DoD contracts will require CMMC. No existing contracts will have CMMC requirements inserted into them, but there is a potential for CMMC requirements and they will only be for new future contracts. When CMMC becomes real or goes into effect, the certifications will be performed by an outside company, or as they call it, a C3PAO. And then they will submit the assessment report to CMMC's accreditation body for approval. There are no CMMC certifications being done today, but DoD is saying it will be soon. So you need to get ready, especially if you're going to be doing DoD contracts. Thank you for attending today's webinar. And I was wondering if anybody has any questions.
Hey, Lillian, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hey, this is Tracy. So it's interesting. I log on to these and I join, and part of my brain is with my own small business, right? And
Yeah.
then part of me is with my big brain on the prime side of things. Is there anybody that you guys have talked to? You don't have to name them, but I'm just curious if we have anybody in Montana who has thought that they would be like a consultant or an expert in this field. Some of this is kind of overwhelming,
Absolutely.
even to mid-sized businesses. And I just wonder, who do we refer to? I met a lady in Wyoming just recently, and they were gearing up, hoping that they could take on clients for this. They already were an IT security provider. And she said the biggest thing is she just gets calls after calls. She's like, we can't do this for everybody. So I was just curious, do we think we have some resources in the state?
Not in Montana, but we do have an organization or firm that has been approved to do this type of, what shall I say, a review of and help with, this type of cybersecurity. If you go to NIST 800-171, it will tell you, especially for a level 1, the basic things that they are requiring. Like, for instance, we had a couple of years before COVID, or right when COVID was happening, the firm did a presentation at the, I think it was the spring conference that we did in Chicago. But what they basically said was level 1 is just being aware of, like, for instance, having a plan in place is if you do work with just federal contracting information, that you have a way to say, yes, in case this happens, these are the steps I'm going to take. Okay, and there's 17 of them, and then there's also and then you have a plan. So when we get hacked, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to follow these steps. And it seems like a lot for a level 1, but if you go through the NIST 800, 171, it will tell you what a level 1, a level 2, a level 3. And most people are not going to be a level 3, and probably I would think people like manufacturing shops that are making components that would have to download any DoD information, they would have to be at a level 2. But this is coming, and the closer it gets, I believe there's going to be a lot more information out there. But Project Spectrum has been doing a lot of work with that right now, and we are going to be having a training here. Probably it'll be probably late summer, early fall on this with an expert in the field. So kind of be looking forward to that, to doing that. So keep checking in. Let's put it that way.
I totally appreciate that. I will add that we just had a conversation this morning at the NG house, right, for Northrop Grumman. And so there was a little bit of maybe confusion or denial. Denial is probably a better word, saying, well, we don't currently have these, I guess, this checklist on the current contract that we have. And so
Yeah.
some of my buyers are like, well, it's not that big of a deal. And I'm like, well, that's great, except this contract will be wrapped up, and then we're going to go into production contract, and it will be in that contract,
Yes.
because they're like, this contract was signed back in, like what, 19 or something. So we don't have those requirements, no big deal. And I was like, don't think that. And the other thing is, just because we've had folks do some one-off work on this contract preparing, the next contract will be the meat and the gravy. And so we
Yeah.
have to go back to all of those contractors who joined our team without having those requirements and explain that they will most likely have to have them going forward.
Oh,
So
yeah,
we'll just,
absolutely.
Yep.
You've got a guy with a computer or laptop in his machine shop, and he is downloading plans and specs and different things like that, and then uploading. And more than likely, they're not going to hack Northrop Grumman or DoD. While they have, but more likely they're going to go through that guy in his machine shop and get in through that way. So that is where most of the hacking or the cyber attacks happen. And even with middle companies, you've got the small businesses, the middle-sized companies, and then the large. And a lot of these are just, things that make sense. Do you have these specs on a computer that is in a locked room, that is not connected to the internet? Different things like that, that would make sense. Jenny, she made a comment in the chat here that she's with MMC, and they can MMEC, and they can assist too with NIST 800-171 compliance. So that is someone to check in with, and they would be experts. So. Hey, Jenny, can you put in your email or phone number into the chat so everybody could get that?
Yeah,
Willing
absolutely.
to share that?
Absolutely. And just so everybody knows, we're part of a national network that is under NIST. So the Manufacturing Extension Partnership Program is actually under NIST, and we've kind of been tagged by DoD and others to help, kind of get the word out and help the manufacturing companies prepare. So absolutely, I will provide my contact info, and thank you for letting me share that.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Like Tracy said, is there anybody in Montana that can help? We don't have so much the consultants, but MMC has been working on that you've been doing that for a while now, haven't you?
Yeah, we've been working on it for a while. And again, we are not necessarily experts in cybersecurity on our staff, but we have a lot of resources we can reach out to. And there are a couple companies in Montana that are getting up to speed. I think there's actually a couple of registered, the RP registered, I can't remember, it's not registered provider, but anyway, in the CMMC marketplace, there's a couple of folks from Montana registered. There's not any auditors yet, like you said.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And we do have some people that even in Great Falls that have gone through the level 1, but they did it quite a few years back, and things have changed. And there used to be like 7 to 10 levels, or I can't remember what it was when we first started out. And now they've kind of condensed it into 3. And, who knows, that could change. But right now, that's what it is. Thanks, Jenny, for providing that information.
Absolutely. Thanks.
Any other questions? Well, it looks like, Sheena, that I'm done. If you do think of something down the road, you can email me or Jenny. And if you're looking for assistance with getting in compliance. So thank you.
Thank you, Lillian. Thank you, Jenny, for that information. If you don't mind, I am going to send that. We did have quite a few others that registered for the event, and it doesn't look like they were able to make it on today. So I will share these resources. We are doing these monthly. If you guys are in the government contracting field or wanting to get into it, highly recommend that you join us. It's the second Tuesday of every month at the same time. Thank you, everyone, and I hope you have a wonderful Tuesday and a great week.